Mississippi River and over into Mississippi, but this is in the Channel 7 viewing area, and so we're going to continue to watch this storm as it continues to move. Jackson, Mississippi National Weather Service radar is showing that. It's not confirmed, but let's just say that, let's say get into that lowest part of your house, the most interior part, and assume that there's a tornado there, which there may not be, but we're going to just assume that there is. For right now, I'm going to back out just a little bit. I'm going to show you with this storm also, there is a hail core up to the north. The rotating part is just south of that, and that's kind of typical for a supercell thunderstorm. Could be up to ping pong ball-sized hail. Looks like the circulation center is going to be moving south of you folks in Lake Village and Eudora. It looks like it'll be moving to the north of you. But we're going to just show you that it's right along the highway there. Again, that's Highway 278 and the small community of Chico. I'm going to go in a little bit tighter there and show you some other roads. Calvin Davis Road, there's County Road 242. Tuggle Road is what Highway 278 apparently is called down there, and it will be moving off to the east. So there is some wind coming along. It's high up from, because of the curvature of the earth, it's a long way from the National Weather Service radar in Jackson, about 80 miles or so. And this is shooting up at about 8,000 or 9,000 feet, but it does show rotation there, and this could be a storm that will put down a tornado. Not for sure it will, but when there's a tornado warning, you're only going to be inconvenienced for a little bit. If you're in that area, just go ahead and get into that safe spot in your house. I don't know if there are any RDOT cameras along Highway 65 down there. Our Chris May is looking at that right now. But we'll be able to see off to the southeast just some very tall tops of those clouds. These storms really looked like they were trying to die out just a little bit, and then this one began to rotate a little bit more, and there's the hail core along with it. And with this, there is ping pong ball sized hail, and so that's one of the things that we'll be watching with this storm. The rest of the storms in the state are gone, except there's one over into Ashley County. It is not a rotating storm, it doesn't appear, but we're going to continue to watch both of these storms. This one, just the circulation did just tighten up, and so we're going to continue over the last little bit. You can see how it began to rotate just a little bit more, and it will cross Highway 65 there, highway south of Lake Village, going straight down to Eudora and the northeastern parishes of Louisiana. And that's it right there. Again, Lake Village, you're on the north side of this circulation center. We can tell exactly where it is right there if it's producing a tornado. And there's the tornado warning that they've kind of redefined. It just takes in Chico County, and it'll be moving across the Mississippi River in a little bit of time. It's not moving terribly fast. I think the latest was about 35 miles per hour off to the east. I'll get some information on it for you and see what the National Weather Service in Jackson is talking about with this storm. It is moving 35 miles per hour. It's 8 miles southwest of Lake Village, and the circulation center for you folks in Lake Village will go south of you. But if you live just down the highway there, you need to take cover. And there's the latest rotation with this, and it does look like there's some bright winds in there, and we're not sure if those are actually rotating winds, that for sure it's a tornado, but it does have some wind, and it did just one scan ago look like it did have some rotation with it. So Jenny in the small community of Chico, right along the highway there, along close to Highway 65. This will be crossing over and then out into the farmland, which is east of 65, and then over the levee and over the river coming up in just a little bit of time. But that's the circulation center. Eudora, it's going to go north of you. Lake Village, the circulation center, as depicted by radar, is going to go south of you, and that's great news there. And I know the tornado warning polygon is rather broad, and you've probably got the tornado sirens going off in Lake Village, but that circulation center is going to be south of you. Again, there's hail with this storm, and the hail looks to be growing. This is a little bit worrisome that the storm is increasing its hail size, which means it's probably, okay, that's solid ping pong ball sized hail, but I think it could be even larger than that, 2+ inches in diameter. So it's obviously a large storm and a tall storm, which lets it then tap into some wind energy above. The atmosphere not perfect for tornadoes this afternoon until you get over by the Mississippi River, and it's a little more conducive, and apparently this storm has sort of tapped into some of that. And so we're going to continue to watch this as we have to go through the next few minutes here. Tornado warning is in effect until 5:30, I believe. And yeah, 5:30, moving off to the northeast, or the east, straight east at 35 miles per hour. The wind part of it is really the part that we're looking at, the velocity product, and there it is, about to cross Highway 65. As we go a little bit tighter in there, you can see the small community of Chico, and there's the rotation. It's a long way from the radar site, and at least up at this altitude, there is rotation there. And it very well, with strong rotation there, it could be translating all the way down to the ground. That's why we say get into that safe spot. This is the old highway over here. Here's new Highway 65 right here. And you'll see it, it'll be crossing just to the south of Lake Village. This will be crossing south also of Highway 278, which goes around Chico Lake there and over the bridge. So this will be down to the south of that as well. We are just looking at a storm that is sort of intensifying. Could we go to our other source? Could we go to StormScan, guys? And I'm going to see if we can see a little bit different look at this storm as it moves in there. And there is Jenny, the small community, and it will move straight off to the east. So this is a east-moving storm that has split Lake Village and Eudora, and it does continue to show that sign of rotation. I'm just looking at what altitude they're looking at. I estimated that it was about 8,000 or 9,000 feet. They're looking at 13,000 feet up with this storm. It is so far from the Jackson radar there. In fact, it's about 90 miles from the radar there, and because of the curvature of the Earth, the radar beam goes straight, but the Earth curves off. And so you're looking not at the lowest levels of the atmosphere there. We know that there is rotation up at 13,000 feet. We're not entirely sure it's all the way down to the ground, but if you're in that tornado warning box, I'm going to say just get in your safe spot. North of Eudora, south of Lake Village, and then it will be moving straight off to the east there, kind of the south of Chico Lake. The hail probability with this really has grown quite a bit. It's a high probability. This is saying about 1.98 inches, so about 2-inch hail there. That's going to be a problem also, and then the rotation part of it is just down to the south of that. But the hail core really shows up. That's the purple that you see right there. And even the dark shades there. That's the hail core, and that's the updraft in this storm. But the rotating part, generally speaking, is just down to the south of that, and I think that's what we're seeing. And if we go to the wind product with this, yeah, you'll see that it's still there. Again, we're anxiously awaiting a new scan coming in, but you can see, you can kind of track this storm. The rotating part kind of lessened, and then it tightened back up there. And hopefully we see this storm very quickly lessen in its rotation, that tight rotation that it had, and that they'll let this tornado warning go. But it doesn't appear that they're doing that right now. It will be moving in about 10 minutes' time. This is going to be crossing the river. It's going to be crossing Highway 65 first, and then the Mississippi River, and moving over, and there's the latest one there. It doesn't look quite as strong as it did, but there's still a small circulation center right there over Chico. I'm going to look at the hail part of this storm as well, because that's the other issue with this storm. And yeah, it's still large hail, and the storm will continue to move right now, probably over Highway 65. It's showing it just west, but there's a little bit of processing time. So it's crossing the highway there, north of Eudora, a small community of Chico. And I'm going to see how far that is, but it's not very far to go over the Mississippi River and out of Chico County. And boy, not a moment too soon. If we can get that out of here, that would be great. But it looks like to me it's about 10 miles away. And at that rate, at 30 miles an hour. It would take about 20 minutes to get there, but this may not even take that long to make it to the Mississippi River. And it may not hold this rotation. It does look like it jogged down a little bit. We're also monitoring what the Jackson Weather Service says about the storm. It says rotation getting closer to the Jenny community and the Chico community south of Lake Chico. Okay, so we've been talking about that. And it's very strong rotation about to cross US 65 highway. And so they are fairly confident that that's something to go back. And yeah, that's definitely a rotation center right there. They've pared the warning back a little bit, and so they're just continuing to move it. But that's the area that they're looking at. So all the way from Jenny down to Chico, if you're in that area along the highway or in the farmland off to the east there as it heads over toward the levee, which runs along the Mississippi River, I need you to get into that safe spot right now. This is in the far, far southeast corner of the state in the Channel 7 viewing area. And so apologize for breaking into programming and into our newscast, but this is taking precedence over everything as it moves straight off to the east. Not a fast-moving storm. This storm, though, has been a supercell storm, which means it has a big, wide, broad rotation and some lowering of the cloud base, but none of these storms really showed much propensity toward them producing a tornado. We don't think any of them occurred in the state. We had strong winds, yes, we had hail in a few spots. This one looks a little bit more vigorous, though, and that tighter rotation there as it moves across Highway 65. So we're going to continue to watch for a little while longer, folks, before it's out of the state. If you back out a little bit, you can kind of see it a little bit better there. This is the reflectivity part, and so there is this storm, and there's another one back into Ashley County, which is also moving off to the east, and we'll have to keep a close watch on that too. But this one is obviously ramping up a little bit. This looks more impressive than it did, and it wouldn't surprise me if there is a tornado with that storm as it crosses Highway 65 down in southeastern Arkansas. There's Mississippi right there, and there's the Louisiana state line. All right, the storm has crossed Highway 65. Sometimes if you look at the reflectivity product, the rainfall in it, you can kind of see that there are two different scans. One is scanning for one thing, and then there's another scan, and I think it's a little bit farther out in advance of that. So I think it's at least a mile or so east of the highway by now as it continues to move off to the east. There's another small hail core there. This is the predominant storm, though. This is the one that's kind of taken over, and probably at the expense of this one back behind it. But that one has a lot of warm, moist air that's starting to be ingested in it, and it is rotating. National Weather Service says strong rotation is currently tracking toward Lakeport on the Arkansas side of the river, and then it will cross over into Mississippi, small community of James over there. And we're going to, these are very small communities there, but you can kind of get an idea what we're looking at. Mississippi River kind of makes a large a bulge out to the east there, and it will be moving into that area. But there is some wind that is coming toward the radar site, pretty strong right there, and some wind going away. And that's the giveaway on when you're looking at the radar, you're looking at the velocities inside of this storm. And you see not just the rain, because that would be difficult to see if there was a tornado, but you're looking at the wind inside. It's great technology, and it shows what part of the storm we need to be concerned with. Obviously, the north part of this warning up here by Lake Village and up by Lake Chico and the homes along there, that you're not in that circulation center, which is well down to the south. And Eudora, you're just to the south of the circulation center as well as it moves off to the east, still moving at about 35 miles an hour. The guys and girls in Jackson at the National Weather Service office are continuing to look at this storm. The hail probability, I will tell you the hail probability right now has come down some, but there's still a hail core right there. Hopefully this is a sign that this storm is beginning to kind of dump the hail core and maybe it tears the storm apart some. We can hope that that is the case, or it just can't sustain the updraft necessary for hail, and maybe that's going to be indicative of it can't sustain that circulation too, and we certainly hope that is the case. But for right now, there is still a tornado warning there, and there is still a really fairly strong sign for a long way away from the radar that there is a potential, anyway, for a tornado. Again, we're looking up at getting a little closer to the radar site. We are looking at about 8,000 feet now, so a little more than 1.5 miles up, and that's what it sees at 1.5 miles up in that thunderstorm. Is it making it all the way to the ground? I'd say we assume that it is, as it moves through largely that a lot of farmland right there in the delta as it moves off to the east about 35 miles per hour. If you're in that area, a lot of farm homes along there, small homes, you need to get down into the lowest part of your house, the most interior part of your house, away from exterior walls and windows, into a bathroom or a closet, something out in the middle of the house. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can, and that's the way to survive a tornado if it happens, in the rare event that would ever hit your house or the place you are. All right, we have this depiction. I'm going to back out. I'm going to show you that in Arkansas we have no other storms of note. Even the one in Ashley County is not it doesn't look like it's very strong. Rotation-wise, it doesn't look strong, but the one that is in Chico County, and again, we're looking for a new radar scan there, it looks strong enough to produce a tornado. And there's the last few scans of it. It really began to build about the time that it got into Chico County, and it looks like it's turning off. Another indication, you notice the rotation was the rotating part of it was there, and now it's turning off. It was going straight east, and now it's turning a little right of that if you were looking along the line. And we call those right-moving thunderstorms. And those are the ones that tend to have a better opportunity at producing a tornado. And so this is kind of following the script here. It tightened its circulation, and now it's moving off to the right, which in this case is off to the south a little bit more. And so I'm going to say, still, Eudora, you are well south of the circulation center. But if you live up to the north of Eudora and anywhere out into that far southeastern corner of the county, go ahead and get into that safe spot. We're going to continue to look at this. National Weather Service says that Entergy has tracked outages where that storm has crossed. And I'm going to look at that. But there have been power outages apparently with this. And I'm going to view those while we still look at the rotation center. And there it is, just to the north of James. This is definitely a right-moving storm, folks. It's moving in a track that doesn't go straight east anymore, but it's really starting to move off to the southeast a little bit. We'll go back and, yeah, that's really what you're looking at. This storm was over around Portland. It began to rotate more, and now its track has really turned off to the right a little bit. I would say I'm fairly confident that there is the potential for a tornado with that storm. Entergy-wise, the outages in the southeastern part of the state, the National Weather Service, yep, we have outages all along here. Let's go back. I'm going to show you, let's go back to Max 2 if we can. From about here to about here, all along Highway 65, within that area, all the power is out along Highway 65. So there has been some sort of event that's taken power lines down, and we're going to assume that it's a tornado, and it's just about to the Mississippi River now, but it's going to take a little while longer. I'd say another 8 or 10 minutes before it's out of there. But yeah, this has been something that has caused outages. And if we can go back to, well, we can just show it on this source here. Sorry. Yeah, we can see with this, definitely there's a lot of inbound wind as this storm gets closer and closer and closer to the Jackson radar. That's the closest radar to it. This is the one that's capable of looking at it, and it's looking at about 7,500 feet up, but that is a lot of wind coming toward the radar site, and there is some going away in a very small area, and that's what we're looking at. Now it's just a matter of 3 or 4 miles from the Mississippi River, but if you're in this area, this is the track of it. It will be quickly leaving our state. Power outages have been noted, though, and really noted right there where the storm crossed Highway 65. I'll go back and look at that. I'm going to look at it. Eudora, yeah, you have power. Lake Village, you have power for sure. But there have been other sporadic ones. But I think this thing, in all likelihood, between about Portland Road and Highway 278 and, yeah, it's just where Highway, that would be Highway 159, along old Highway 65. Yeah. Entergy has customers right along old Highway 65 right there, and that's where we saw the outages. Another cooperative apparently has the responsibility for electricity along Highway 65 there, but I'm assuming that power is out there as well. But that was the area. And this thing, I will tell you, has, if anything, has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger as it has gone moving off to the east. And I think when we saw it turning off to the right a little bit, that was our key indicator. And the hail core really began to grow, that this was going to be a strong storm. And I think it's probably one that has put down a tornado, and maybe a sizable tornado. Of course, it doesn't take a sizable tornado to tear down power lines, but I'm afraid that this storm has actually produced a tornado there. We're going to be looking at a little more as far as power is concerned, but the power outages, maybe we can show that really quickly. In Arkansas, trying to get a total number here. We're going to keep our eye on that storm. It's still rotating. If you're within the polygon there, the red polygon, that far southeastern part of Chico County, north of Eudora, go ahead and stay in that spot. But in Arkansas, we have 11,469 outages. A lot of those are up in northwest Arkansas, some over into the eastern part of the state, and only 7, it says, without power in Chico County, but I think that's not taking into account what has happened there, because obviously there were quite a few that were along old Highway 65 anyway. Let's go back to, yeah, there it is right there, and that is a powerful storm as it continues to track off to the southeast. If we back out a little bit, I'll show you that it's really at the southern edge of this polygon, because it has moved so far down to the right that it's in the southern part of that polygon as it moves off to the east. And tornadoes don't take a straight line really hardly ever. And in fact, the ones that get stronger like that frequently make that veer. So that's why it's so dangerous to chase tornadoes or assume that it's not going to hit your house if it's not going at your house or where you are, because they can make a turn, certainly in their lifespan, especially if they get stronger. We'll hope to see this one get weaker and weaker as it moves out of our state, but for right now, there's as much inbound wind as I've seen with it, and I think that definitely is, I'd say we just have to assume that is a tornado, and that's what we've been assuming for the last 20 minutes as we've been tracking this storm. But it definitely is the most pronounced rotation that we've had. Let's go back to our other source if we can, and I will show you that rotation as it approaches places like Chatham and James over into Mississippi. But it's, again, clearly north, and this is the rotation that we see with it. Hail threat is still there. You can kind of see with that, you can see how close now the rotation is to the Mississippi River. You couldn't really see it when I've got the product on there, but it's going to be moving right over the levee and right out of Arkansas very soon. But that is a really pronounced circulation right there. The wind's inbound to the radar side, although a long way away and considerably up, over a mile up in the storm, certainly would lead you to believe that there is a tornado there. And I think the folks at the Jackson, Mississippi Weather Service would agree with that wholeheartedly, as that is the predominant rotation that we see really in anywhere around the area. Weather Service in Jackson says Chico County rotation has taken more of a turn to the right, as I noted there. We'll cross into Washington closer to Chatham, Irwin, and North Washington Lake. That's on the other side of the river there. And in fact, folks, as we look at this, I would say that rotation center has probably, well, it probably already has passed out of Arkansas, even though it's shown still in Arkansas. That processing time and time in between scans is going to be several minutes, even though they're scanning this one frequently, so it doesn't take as long. It is now moving out of the state of Arkansas, and we'll be going back to programming very quickly as it passes out of our state. We'll just give it another scan or so, and then we'll be sending you to our national news coming up with David Muir coming up in just a little bit, but it is passing out of the state. I think that we'll probably see some reports of damage down in that part of the state. There were hail reports elsewhere. At Umphrey, there was a 66-mile-per-hour wind gust, and near St. Charles, there was wind and there was hail, but no reports of tornadoes that we know of, although there was a tornado warning up into Crittenden County and into the area around Wynn had one. This is the last of the storms for us for tonight. The wind is coming in out of the northwest here. It's getting drier and drier outside. And at 6 o'clock tonight, and so in just a half an hour's time, we're going to be talking about what's coming up this week. We've got some nice weather coming up. Other rain chances come back for the Memorial Day holiday weekend, and we're going to we'll continue to watch that very carefully. But for now, I think we can probably safely assume that this storm is almost over the river, if it's not completely over the river right now. So the tornado warning for the southeastern part of our state, Chico County, is yeah, it's just moving out of the state, as Jackson said. All right, we have followed that storm for a while, and that is it. We're going to continue to watch this part of this storm. This is the predominant part, this is the predominant storm of those two. I think this one has really taken the lion's share of the energy. So we'll continue to watch that, and we'll watch South Chico County coming up. But for right now, we're going to assume that storm has indeed moved out over the Mississippi River. And we'll send you back to programming. Join us back here at 6 o'clock for Channel 7 News at 6. And we'll also be back on if this storm decides to rotate as well until then.
Stay there at 9 p.m. He stops from London down to just east